So, my topic today is valuing your values, how to express your values in all your relationships and why it matters. So, the best way I see to break this down succinctly would be to focus on what your values are and how to communicate them. So, what are your values? Well, it's what makes you you. And for your well being and feasibility of life, everyone should display and be the best you can be. In general, values are what you fundamentally believe and are often in the form of morals or ethics that guide your life. Some macro examples are sociability, religion, education, politics, creativity, environmental conscientiousness, and self care. And some micro examples are, though can sometimes get a little bit in the territory of preferences, are simply things that help make your life at least an ounce better, such as affirmations, manners, likes, and dislikes. So I'm sure you all are already reflecting on what your values are in this moment as I speak. If possible, though they can overlap, try to categorize them, whether or not they're personal or workplace related in regards to relationships, as I continue to speak. Though I think this is important for everyone, I'm sure those who are in different powering structures at work or have tenuous relationships personally will find this extremely useful. So, how to communicate your values? Well, when communicating your values, you must first understand what your values are and then consider these aspects. So, the method of communication, such as written, email, in person, and the delivery of the communication, such as formal or informal. The situation, how will this impact me, such as poor performance at work or stress at home? The audience, is this a significant other, a colleague, a mentor, a manager, a friend? Is it more than one person? And the content itself. What is at the core of what you really want this person to know? It's best to think in terms of keywords. Research evidence suggests that face-to-face interactions, being courteous and respectful, being clear and not having high expectations is important. And surprise, this method works for both personal and workplace relationships. So the takeaway for this is how to communicate your values is tend to fall into these categories. Direct. This is being prepared, focusing on the key words, method of communication, and being clear. Respect. Knowing your audience, perspective taking, trying to understand the other person's point of view, and the delivery of communication. And lastly, trust. Having no high expectations, but knowing that communicating your values will lead to a positive impact or a better situation than before. And trusting the process, giving the people the opportunity and grace to acknowledge and value your values. So, now I think it's your turn. I would like you all to, in your breakout rooms, to share an example of a time you communicated a value of yours in a personal or workplace relationship. Did you do it effectively? If not, how would you modify that now? And if you're not quite comfortable doing that, why don't you practice communicating a value that you have been wanting to communicate, whether it be a personal or workplace relationship? And then lastly, I would like everyone to support each other in these discussions. Try your best to be objective, expressing how you would feel as the intended recipient of one of your group members communicating these values. So I would like to share an example before we fully break out. And an example that I would share on a personal note is the relationship that I have with my mother, right? So my mother is not an affectionate person, not really a hugger in any capacity. That's just the way she grew up. And for me, I am. I can, that would be a longer conversation speaking to the reasons why I am, but I am. And I communicated with her in a way that I felt was appropriate given our relationship. And I shared with her and I said, "Hey, Mom, when's the last time you hugged me?" And she sort of was bewildered by that. I kind of caught her off guard. That was intentional. And she said, "Why? Do you want me to hug you now?" I was like, "Well, I guess I was just trying to remember the last time I hugged you and I couldn't remember. And then she was like, okay, well, I can hug you now. I said, well, I would like you to hug me because you want to hug me. And she said, okay, well, I want to hug you now. And I said, okay. And then I asked her, how do you feel now that you hugged me? And she said, I feel great. I feel good. I said, now, isn't this a feeling you want to feel all the time? And I think she really took that in because my mom hugs me unprompted now all the time, anytime I see her. So that's a great example of a personal one. In regards to a workplace relationship, I tend to be extremely meticulous when it comes to emailing at times. So, especially when it comes to sensitive populations. So, the best example I can think of is that when I used to work at NYU Langone Health, I used to have to email back very quickly in regards to patient care, in regards to logistics and operations for that care. And sometimes people would ask me questions that I previously answered in previous emails. So this is a micro, this is a micro value of mine, which is that I like my time to be extremely respected, and that the fact that I've explained things clearly to also be reviewed. So how can I handle that? So instead of, coming at the person, calling, being mean, complaining, filing a complaint, I just simply email them back stating that, hello, I'm not sure if I explained this fully clearly the last time I had mentioned this, but I want to make sure that I'm trying to communicate this in the way that that best suits you. So sometimes that might be picking up a phone call, that might be meeting them having a meeting to discuss things further and trying to understand their best form of communication. Because if any of you have ever worked in healthcare, whether you've been doing marketing or insights for a healthcare organization or hospital, you may know that a lot of times the people that you need to connect with are busy or not necessarily always at a computer. So that was a clear example for me, knowing that, hey, even though I value emailing and being very clear and direct in my emailing, this person may not, and they just want the sound bites for certain things. So I was able to have some sort of perspective taken and understanding where they're coming from, and they understood where I come from. So although my colleagues, for example, were not able to get this person to communicate very clearly via email when they had explicitly stated things, this person took the opportunity to continuously do that for me. So these are just some quick examples to explain that, and I'm hoping that you all can share the same in your groups.